Hello, Phantom fans. My name is Johnny Five. His name is Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, and this is the Dump and Chase podcast. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, whether it's on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. This week's show is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors at Advanced Podiatry. For information about treatments and services offered, locations, and appointment information, check out advancedpodiatry.com. You know, fun fact, Dr. Benson Honeydew was created in 1976.
Oh, really?
That wasn't why I selected it. That was just a happy accident.
Oh, another coincidence? Hey, Laser Lips, your mama was a snowblower.
Do you remember there was talk at some point they were going to reboot Short Circuit and it never happened?
Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that. I mean, Short Circuit 2 was a stretch, but... So we hope everyone got to check out our bonus episode that came out this last Friday when we interviewed Phantom's co-general manager Jason Deskins. All in all, I thought that episode came together really well, and we got some really great feedback from some of our listeners. So if you haven't heard it yet, be sure to check it out. There's a ton of good information in there for Phantoms fans, and honestly, just anyone in the league that you really get a behind-the-scenes look of how, you know, a lot of these trades and, scouting and drafting and everything, just kind of what goes on behind the scenes. There was a ton of good information there.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something that you get every day, especially in this league.
So taking a week off, there was a little bit we missed, so we'll catch you up to speed on a little bit if you haven't been already. The trade deadline came and passed at the end of February, and the Phantoms made a couple of moves to address the offensive side of the puck. Now, we've all, for the most part, have seen the new players in the last couple weeks, but real quick, we'll just go over the transactions. For starters, that was a trade with Des Moines. The Phantoms picked up forward Tiernan Shouty, who is no 2 birth year from Marysville, Michigan, along with a 2022 Phase 2 8th round pick and a 2023 Phase 2 3rd round pick. The Buccaneers got rookie forward Dylan Wegner, a 2022 Phase 2 1st round pick, and a 2023 Phase 2 3rd round. This trade raised a few eyebrows as far as what was given up in the exchange, but that was kind of rectified in the second trade. What have you thought of Shouty so far?
I think, especially over last weekend, as he's got to fit more in with the flow of things in Youngstown, get more comfortable with the offense. It's looking like he will add somewhat to our offense, which, we've been lacking a little bit. And I think one of the goals of these trades was try not to sacrifice too much on defense. Both players were touted as, 200-foot players. I haven't seen any evidence to dispute that, so we'll see how that one goes. We gave up a bit. We'll see how this one turns out in the long run.
Shouty's first game was the school day game, and he was pretty much fresh off the boat there. He had no practices or anything. He pretty much showed up, suited up and played. So especially the past couple weekends, he's looked a lot more comfortable with his new teammates. As for the second trade, the Phantoms made another deal with Omaha, this time receiving forward Garrett Wright. He is an 01 birth year from Mesa, Arizona. The Phantoms also got a 2022 Phase 2 2nd round pick and a 2023 Phase 2 4th round pick. Heading off to the Lancers was forward Evan Werner, a 2023 Phase 2 7th round pick, and future considerations. Now, Garrett was Omaha's leading scorer this season, so the return for this trade, I think, really evened out the return from the Shouty trade.
Yeah, definitely. And, Werner is someone who is still eligible to play next year, another 2 years potentially. There is some long-term gain there for Omaha. This is one I think, depending on how things play out, might really work long-term for both teams.
And to round out news for the Phantoms, and this was just a few hours before we started recording here, Winter Wallace, who had been committed to Michigan State, announced that he committed to Cornell University. So I would think a jump from the Big Ten to the Ivy Leagues, that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, Cornell, Jack Malone is currently playing there. Not bad footsteps to follow in. Academically, a great school to go to. Good job.
All right, so coming up in this episode, we will look back at the weekend split with Madison. We'll hear post-game comments from Coach Patterson, name our 3 stars of the week, and hear from forward Adam Ingram, and look ahead to this weekend's 3-3 with the visiting Green Bay Gamblers. That was a little bit of a list there. So after the break, we'll get started with our weekend recap. You're listening to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
And we're back. The Madison Capitals came visiting. These were the last two games in the season series with Madison for this year. Phantoms split this weekend, taking the loss on Friday and then picking up the win on Saturday. So we'll start with the game on Friday, and it really seems like the last couple times we played Madison, it's just the same names showing up on their score sheet. Good for them where they are in the standings, but it seems like their scoring has been very concentrated, at least when we've played them. It just seems to be the same names over and over and over again. So starting this one out in the first period, the only goal of the period at the 4:16 mark, that was Madison's Quinn Finley, his 8th of the season from Severo and Kukkonen. Yeah, that was it for the first period. So going on to the second period, at the 16:19 mark, Madison's Reed Pavich, his 13th of the season from Horback and Dunlap, giving Madison a 2-0 lead. And that's how we go into the third period. So once we get into the third period, things start getting a little more interesting. Early on in the period, at the 1:37 mark, Tiernan Schaude picks up his 8th of the season and first as a Phantom from Justin Varner and TJ Schweighardt, cutting Madison's lead to 2-1. And then just a couple minutes later, the Phantoms tie the game up. Winter Wallace, his 13th of the season from Nick Williams and Charlie Lurie. About 5 minutes after that, at the 9:58 mark, Madison's Casey Severo, his 11th of the season from Middlestat. That would give Madison a 3-2 lead, and that's how the game would end. For the game, shots were tied 26-26. Youngstown on the power play was 0 for 3. Madison was 0 for 1. Kyle Chevette stopped 23 of 26 shots in the loss. His record drops to 13-8-4-2 with a 3.08 goals against average and a .901 save percentage. Yeah, and this is something we'll talk more about later, but this was just a case of the Phantoms kind of laying down on the first two periods of this game, just not generating anything. Finally getting their act together for about 7 or 8 minutes in the third period, and that was all they were able to muster in this game.
Yeah, first 18 minutes of the game, 1 shot on goal. I mean, just flat, lifeless, out of the gate.
Okay, so moving on to the game on Saturday. Again, this was a 3-2 win for the Phantoms. The Phantoms got out to a lot better start in this game. They started off the scoring at the 6:26 mark. Kenta Isagai, his 6th of the season from Winter Wallace and TJ Schweighardt, giving Youngstown a 1-0 lead. And then Kenta again at the 14:27 mark, his 7th of the season from Charlie Lurie and Bayard Hall, giving Youngstown a 2-0 lead. And at the 19:20 mark, Madison would cut that lead in half. Casey Severo, like I said, it's just the same names over and over again. His 12th of the season from Kukkonen and Finley. So the teams go into the first intermission with Youngstown up 2-1. No scoring in the second period, so we can just jump right over that. So going into the third period at the 5:45 mark, Madison's Ben Dexheimer, his 7th of the season from Middlestat and McGrody, that tied the game at 2. And then at the 13:54 mark, Youngstown's Charlie Lurie, his 13th of the season from Justin Varner and Bayard Hall, giving Youngstown a 3-2 lead, and that's how the game would end. Shots in the game, Madison 29, Youngstown 20. Both teams were 0 for 2 on the power play. Jacob Fowler stopped 27 of 29 in the win, so his record improves to 4-2 with a 2.07 goals against average and a .934 save percentage. Repeating myself again, we'll get into this more in a little bit, but this was a game that shows what Youngstown is capable of when they come, out of the gate at the beginning of the game with intensity and, with a little bit of fire in their belly.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a few times. It seems like sometimes there's 2 different Youngstown Phantoms teams. This time the right one showed up.
Now, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I don't remember. It was 3 minutes ago. How can you expect me to remember that? But yeah, this wraps up the regular season series with Madison. 9 games altogether. In those 9 games, Youngstown went 3-4-2, picking up 8 out of a possible 18 points in those games. Madison outscored Youngstown 34-27. Youngstown was combined total 5 for 26 on the power play. Madison was 7 for 34. And one kind of goofy little bit here. Of the 9 games in this series, whichever team scored first ended up winning that game. That held true for all 9 games.
That's an impressive streak. I mean, it's one of those kind of common sense things. You score first, you set the tempo, but 9 for 9 is really unusual. Nobody actually, I didn't realize that.
What were you going to say? What were you going to say? Nobody cares to keep track of that stuff, or I'm the only one?
Yeah, I guess that just goes to show you got to come prepared to play.
Welcome to Sam's Minor Stats Emporium. I have.
Yeah, well, again,
everything you mildly hope for, I can hook you up.
I mean, it shows one thing you need to know about at least this series: score first.
Hence why I was a little extra excited when Kenta picked up the first goal on Saturday, because the odds were very much in our favor at that point. So after the game on Friday, in the post game with Coach Brad Patterson, we got the chance to ask him about Winter Wallace and kind of how he has progressed offensively, especially over the last month and a half or so. These were his comments about the newest member of Cornell University, Winter Wallace.
Yeah, I think Winter would probably tell you this as well. I feel like sometimes early in the season, he was reluctant to shoot it. Not that he didn't think he had a good shot, but he wanted to get an extra 5 feet or make that pass maybe. And really our message to him, and probably what I've harped on him the most about, is he's got such a good shot, is just to get it off. Doesn't matter where you are, find the net with it. He skates tremendously well. He's in great shape, so he's going to find ways to generate just by being hard. And ultimately that's what's going to make him have a career in hockey. He's able to do things that a lot of guys can't, just with the frame and the athleticism that he has. Then you tack on his compete level and his shot, and good things are bound to happen.
If we ever want to do like a fiction show or anything like that, I would be calling it Brad versus the Zamboni. And anytime we talk to Brad after the game, the Zamboni manages to be in the worst possible position at the worst possible time. So in case anybody has ever wondered on any of the clips you hear from Brad post game, that's the Zamboni in the background.
Yeah, and at least for this, he didn't have to actually stop mid-interview and try to resume once it's gone past.
No, this time he stopped 3 times.
Yeah, but not during this question.
Oh, yeah, not during this question. Before that, he stopped 3 times because of Zamboni.
And I mean, I think at least 2 out of 3 he was able to continue just fine, and then one time he was like, where was I?
Yeah, so Brad versus the Zamboni coming to a theater near you.
You or I, that would just absolutely ruin it. We'd be like, next question. This one was done. You'll have to cut this.
All right. So, we thank Brad for that, as we do after every game, willing to, whether it's a good game or a bad game, willing to take a few minutes to talk with us, talk with Matt Lipsack. So we're going to take another break. When we come, what the hell was that? We're going to take another break. The body is failing me. So we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll break down the weekend in this week's edition of 4 Points. Stick around right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street and Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
Welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast, brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So for listeners new and old, 4 Points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and our 3 stars of the week. So do you want to kick it off this week?
Ooh, caught me off guard there. Hold on.
Good. A startled Justin is a entertaining Justin.
I was pulling up a tab somewhere else, so yeah, hold on 1 second.
Take your time. It's not like we're on the clock here.
Yeah, you're editing.
Yeah.
Okay, what I liked. Saturday. Damn it, Sam. Yeah. What I liked this weekend, Saturday, we made some adjustments, line changes, shuffled some players around. Maybe because we got Sardarian back in the lineup. You know, especially the line of LaChance, Bettens, and Issa. I thought the changes worked real well, and that was, I think, something we need to see a lot more of when things aren't working.
Yeah, that falls in line with what I liked for this week. Just the overall tempo in the first period. Like we said, the Phantoms were very flat on Friday. So them to come out the way that they came out on Saturday, you said, kind of shuffling the lines around, and you brought up several times throughout the game on Saturday, that line of, LaChance, Kenta, and Bettens, from puck drop, those guys were flying. They set the tone for the entire game. So a lot better effort on Saturday than from what we saw on Friday. That this isn't what I don't like, but I really hope going forward we can see this more consistently over the entire weekend, and not just on Friday, and not just one of the two games of the weekend.
Yeah, you could make these changes in game. There's no shame in that. Yeah, what I didn't like, we've talked about it a lot so far, but just that flat offense to start the game. Like I mentioned, one shot in the first 18 minutes. We got a few in the last couple, when we start to wake up at the end of the period, but, we had already gotten shelled pretty bad. Wasn't so much on the scoreboard, but Chauvette faced some pretty serious rubber that period. So yeah, you have to at least get some pucks on the net at that point, and we weren't doing it.
Just the same for we beaten this horse to death here already in this episode. Just that lack of urgency in the first 40 minutes of Friday, especially with a team like Madison. We're trying to catch up to them in the standings. Still, when it's all said and done, we're still trailing them by 2 points. We have 4 games in hand. The opportunity is there to pass them, and the way you make that really easy on yourself is beating Madison. And the last 4 times we played them, we were able to get 1 win out of that. So, it's just the opportunity was there. It wasn't taken, and I would have hoped for more urgency. We're coming down to the end of the season, and this was something Jason Deskins talked about in the bonus episode, that when you're only playing, your own conference, points are hard to come by. One bad weekend can wipe out a good weekend very easily. So when you're wanting, at the very least, you want to be, the 3rd or 4th seed going into the playoffs. At least that way you're not traveling for that first round. I hope Saturday was a wake-up call that this is how we need to play going forward. We can't take nights off, because that's but what it looked like. That's what it looked like on Friday night, was they took the night off.
Like you said, with it only being conference play, every point is more precious. You gotta, treat this as a playoff game almost.
Well, that at this point, everything's a playoff game.
Yeah. So, favorite moment. My favorite moment, pretty much when the LaChance, Bettens, Isugai line came out on Saturday. I kind of saw him hit the ice, and it's like, well, that's odd. I make a joke or two, and then realize, wow, these guys are really flying, and this is what we didn't see last night. Eventually, it produced. And when I say eventually, it was like, 5-6 minutes into the game?
Yeah, something like that.
So, yeah, just that energy coming out of the gate, and seeing that after 40-plus minutes of nothing, that was my favorite moment.
For my favorite moment, I got Kenta Isagai's, I believe it was his second goal on Saturday, the wraparound goal. We talk about, we sit right behind the net. We were kind of seeing that play develop before it happened. We know how fast Kenta is around the back of the net. we saw where the goalie was positioned, and as soon as Kenta got the puck, I think we already knew what was going to happen. But yeah, you basically had everybody to one side of the net, and Kenta was able to wrap it around to the other side of the net, and Latkozy wasn't even looking by the time the puck crossed the goal line. He hadn't even got his head around yet. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, just something like that happening, 10, 12 feet in front of us, and being able to watch that all play out, that would, for me, yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, it kind of went into slow motion for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
You just kind of saw it in slow motion of developing.
All right, and so to finish this off, we have the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. So for this week, our 3rd star will go to Jacob Fowler. I don't know any other way to put it. This kid has been incredible since he's come up from South Kent. And a few of these games, he's really saved our butt. And I know this goes back to a couple weeks ago, but I brought up the point on Twitter, that school day game with USA, the 18s, the 3 USHL games they played before that, they had put up 9 goals in each game. The game after the school day game that they played, they put up 11 on Green Bay. Fowler held them to 2. Yeah. So I know we're supposed to go by last weekend, but since we didn't have the show the weekend before, I'm kind of inserting that in as well. But yeah, I mean, Fowler's last 3 games, playing the U18s, playing Dubuque, playing Madison, he's given up 2 goals in each of those games. I mean, and those are 3, high-powered offenses who put up a lot of points, and he held each of those teams to 2 goals. So yeah, for that, I have him in as the 3rd star of the week.
Yeah, I mean, we had high hopes for him coming into, the situation, joining the team mid-season, and he's exceeded every expectation. Even in the losses, he's given us a chance to win. So 2nd star of the week, Werner Wallace. The past few weeks, 6 goals, 6 assists, 10 games. Last weekend, 1 goal, 1 assist. I mean, consistency, he's just kind of developed into what we hope to see ever since he joined the team last year. And, he's cleaned up the penalties, still playing physical. This is what we want to see out of Werner Wallace.
Okay, and the 1st star of the week will go to Kenta Isagai, 2 goals on Saturday, and was really, was part of that line that was the catalyst for what that game ended up being on Saturday. And we've talked about before with Kenta, I mean, his speed is, incredible. His work on the penalty kill is great. His stick work is great. It's just the only thing we haven't seen him do is show up on the score sheet, which is what you want out of somebody who's a 2nd-year forward, and is, constantly put into that top 6 forward position. So to see him get a couple goals on Saturday, fingers crossed, is a step in the right direction as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I mean, just overall, just a great game for him. Just a goal short of the natty as far as hat tricks are concerned, but I'll take the 2 that he got.
And you mentioned the speed and just the reaction on the 2nd goal. The 1st goal was just kind of driving it to the net, so which was something we had kind of hoped to see out of him last season from what we had seen off of, video scouting. And hopefully, this is the start of him, coming into his own.
And that will do it for 4 points. So a couple weeks back, we got the chance to talk with Phantoms forward Adam Ingram. This is one that a lot of you had asked for. So without further ado, this was that conversation. Okay, and we're back here in the locker room of the Cavelli Center. We're here with Phantoms forward Adam Ingram. Now, Adam, you're from Winnipeg. You played your youth hockey there. How did you get started in hockey?
Yeah, I mean, I have an older brother. He's 20, and when he was 5 and I was 3 turning 4, I started playing with him. So I was playing up a little bit, but it was nice to have an older brother to play with.
So far this season, you're top 10 in scoring overall. You're the top rookie scorer in the league. Anyone who I talk to around the team, they talk about your work ethic, your drive. I mean, has your success in Youngstown so far this season, has it surprised you? Or is it what you expected of yourself coming in this year?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too sure what to expect coming here. I've heard things about the USHL. I had a buddy that played in the league last year. But really, I'd never seen any games played here. And I kind of scored in the first game and gave me some confidence, and I just kept it going.
Okay, so you're committed to St. Cloud State. Right now, you're the 14th ranked North American skater on the Central Scouting midterm list. That's the highest Phantom since Kyle Connor in 2013. He was ranked 13th. Or 2015, he was ranked 13th. How excited are you right now for how your future is shaping up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited. The guys at St. Cloud obviously played in the MJHL last year and our season got canceled, and they took a chance on me, and I mean, it worked out pretty well for me because it helped me come down here. And yeah, I mean, obviously being in the same conversation as Kyle Connor is unbelievable. He's scored 30 goals this year in the NHL, and I mean, that'd be unreal if I could do that as well one day.
Coming into the season, the Phantoms were coming off of a rough year. There was a lot of changes around the team. Many fans kind of had it that this was going to be a rebuilding year, and so far you guys have far outlived anybody's expectations of what this season was going to be. I mean, what can you say about this roster that, I mean, already has Youngstown fans talking about a playoff run this year?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really good special group of guys here, and we all look forward to coming to the rink every day and seeing each other. It's always a blast, and we get better every day in practice. And yeah, I think we can definitely make a playoff run, hopefully bring back the Clark Cup to Youngstown.
Some people may not know about you is that you're actually an accomplished amateur golfer. Have you had any time to play any of the links around here since you've been here?
Yeah. Before it snowed, I played Kensington. I want to say I played up in Mill Creek as well. We played a few times, and then we've hit the simulator as well a couple times.
Now, looking into it, your dad is actually a very renowned golf coach, Derek Ingram. I'm going to do a follow-up from an interview you did a couple years ago. You talked about, you were asked if you had beat him on the course yet. You said over 9 holes, yes, over 18, no. Is there any update to that, or?
I think it still must be 9 holes. He doesn't play very much. He's normally busy with coaching. He's in the U.S. all the time in the summer. So if we go out, it's normally in the evening. We play 9. I'll beat him by a few sometimes, and he'll beat me by a few other times.
Okay, to finish this out, you've been a fan favorite in Youngstown this season, and a lot of fans took to you very early on in the season. What does that mean to you, and is there anything you would like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting, and I want to thank all of them for their support, and I really appreciate it.
All right, well, Adam, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, so a big thanks to Adam for taking a few minutes after the game to help us out. Next week, you'll hear our interview with forward Kyle Bettens. So we're going to take another break. On the other side, we'll take a look at this weekend's 3-game series at the Covelli Center with the visiting Green Bay Gamblers. This is the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio. Hello, Phantom fans. This is the Dump and Chase podcast.
We're trying to model ourselves after what you guys have done a little bit.
Voice of the Phantoms and friend of the show, Mr. Matt Lipsack.
I am along for the ride and perhaps provide some modicum of adult supervision here, although really that's a lost cause at this point.
We welcome back Phantoms president Andrew Goldman. That went smoother. It went smoother than it did with Matt.
I want that added. I want that added.
What are you shaking your head now for?
I'm agreeing with you because he has absolutely killed us this year.
Yeah, that's not helping. I'm trying to process. Okay.
Well, so far, finger guns has meant Sam shut up, so got to come up with a different sign for that.
Listen, that was frightening.
And we're back with the Dump and Chase podcast brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So this weekend at the Covelli Center, the Green Bay Gamblers are visiting for 3 games. This will be the final 3 games of the series, of the regular season series with Green Bay. In the 5 games so far, Youngstown is 3-1-1 against the Gamblers. The last meeting was February 11th and 12th. Youngstown swept that weekend. The Friday game 3-1, the Saturday game 5-2. So far this season, Youngstown has outscored Green Bay 21-13. Combined on the power play, Youngstown is 4 for 17. Green Bay on their power play is 3 for 19. Last weekend, Green Bay split their series with Chicago, losing 7-4 on Friday and then winning 2-1 on Saturday. So coming into this weekend, Green Bay is 20-22, 2-1, which is good for 43 points and 7th in the Eastern Conference. They're actually tied with 6th place Cedar Rapids, but again, point differential, game differential, all that kind of stuff. Youngstown coming into the weekend, I'm so tired of talking about that. Youngstown coming into the weekend, 2016 5-3, which works out to 48 points. They are 5th in the Eastern Conference, again, only trailing Madison by 2 points for 4th with 4 games in hand. Green Bay on the season, they have scored 147 goals. That works out to a 3.27 goals per game average. They've given up 175 goals per game. That is a 3.89 goals against average. Youngstown has put up 138 goals for and 138 goals against. So those averages works out to pi, 3.14. Who doesn't love pi?
3.14. If you type it out on a calculator backwards, it spells out pi.
Yep.
That's a perfect number.
Right now, there's kids on their phones going, that it doesn't look like pi. They haven't lived in a world where a calculator is a separate object that you had to hold. That whole line when you were in school that, no, you can't use your calculator in math class. You're not going to be carrying a calculator around with you all the time. One of the many things I learned in school that ended up not being correct, but that's a whole nother story. So as far as the special teams, Green Bay on the power play, 21.2%. That is 4th in the Eastern Conference. Their penalty kill is at 81.5%. That is 2nd in the East. Youngstown on the power play, 19.9%. That is 5th in the East. And their penalty kill at 78.3% is also 5th in the Eastern Conference. Although I will point out, Green Bay has the top power play in the Eastern Conference when they're at home. They have the worst power play in the Eastern Conference when they're on the road. So fingers crossed that works out in our favor this weekend. Yeah, so I mean, we've seen, I don't know if we want to say Green Bay has already kind of given up on the season. They were able to take one from Chicago last weekend, but in the course of like 12 hours before the trade deadline, they traded away their top forward and defenseman. Maybe already they're starting to throw up the white flag. So, and again, fingers crossed, hopefully that works out for us this weekend, because coming out of this weekend with 6 points would be huge.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, they have already shown the propensity to play spoiler.
Yeah.
So minus Jackson Hallam and Damian Carfagna, you would expect them to roll over, but they have not, so you still have to play 60 minutes.
Okay, so the game on Friday night, that's a 7:05 puck drop. That is Scout night. So any Scouts can get tickets for $8, and they will receive a special patch in coming to the game. The Saturday game, also a 7:05 puck drop. That is $2 pints until the halfway point of the game, halfway through the second period. The first 500 kids 12 and under will get a free purple replica jersey, and the Phantoms will be wearing Irish themed. Yeah, to be sure. Something nobody's ever got in trouble for is insulting the Irish.
Paddy wagon.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Phantoms will be wearing special Irish themed jerseys that will be auctioned off after the game. And then the game on Sunday, that's a late afternoon game with a 4:05 puck drop. All of these games, if you cannot make it to the game, will be available on Hockey TV and streaming on Western Reserve Radio with the voice of the Phantoms, Matt Lipsack, on the call. And the game on Friday, this episode will air in the hour leading up to the pregame show for that Friday night game. If you would like to go to the game for ticket information, call the Phantoms box office at 330-747-PUCK or 330-747-7825, or you can visit youngstownphantoms.com for ticket information. So with all that, we are down to our final break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show and look ahead to next week. So stick around one more time to the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio. And we're back. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week. So we will be back next weekend to recap this weekend with Green Bay, including post-game comments from Coach Patterson and our conversation with Kyle Bettens. And we'll look ahead to a road trip to Illinois for 2 games with the Chicago Steel. We want to thank the official sponsor of the Dump and Chase podcast, the fine people at Advanced Podiatry. For information about treatments and services offered, locations and appointment information, check out advancedpodiatry.com. So as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by hockeyfan.com, and be sure to check out our syndication partners at ohiohockeydigest.com. You can hear this show every Wednesday on Western Reserve Radio, either on westernreserveradio.com, through the TuneIn or Live 365 app, the Western Reserve Facebook and Twitter pages, and the Youngstown Phantoms Facebook page. This show, both new and archived episodes, pretty much everything we've done this season, can also be found on, well, actually all of our episodes can be found on YouTube. Everything we've done this season can be found in an audio format wherever you listen to your favorite audio podcasts. That's a lot to go over there, but luckily all of these links can be found in one place on our Linktree page. That can be found in the description of whichever way you are listening to this episode. You will also find links to our social media accounts in there as well. You can find Justin on Facebook at facebook.com/YTHockeyFan and on Twitter at YTHockeyFan. Both of those are PHAN. And you can find me on Twitter at dump_chasepod. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. For Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. We'll talk to you all again right here on the Dump and Chase podcast. Bye now.